Most people think the moment you sign the LOI, the deal's basically done. It's not, not even close. The LOI isn't the finish line. The LOI is the moment the real deal begins. Before the LOI, everyone's optimistic. Everyone's selling their best version of the business. Everyone's polite. After the LOI, the tone changes and the energy changes too. And the truth finally shows up. Hey, I'm Jon Stoddard from DealFlowSystem. I help first-time buyers find, fund, and close their first business the smart way. If you want to buy a business without wasting years on junk deals, hit that subscribe button and let's dig in. Today, we're talking about what really happens when you sign the LOI, not theory, not textbooks, the reality of it. What to expect. Let me tell you a little story about a deal I saw a few years ago. And just say this, if you're in the game long enough, you'll see your own version of this kind of story. It's an 18-year-old commercial cleaning company, 1.1 million in revenue, 260K in owner earnings. Owner is in his mid-60s. He's a proud guy, consistent. He's just ready to retire. He wants out. The owner and the seller, they really clicked right away. A lot of respect, a lot of trust, and good Zoom calls back and forth. Really good energy. So the buyer writes a clean LOI. It's simple. It's got price, it got terms, a 60-day exclusivity, and the seller signs it. And that's where everything kind of quietly shifted. Not in an explosive way, just different, the mood. Before the LOI, the seller talked about pride. After the LOI, he talked with attachment to the business. Before the LOI, he said, hey, this business is my legacy. After the LOI, he said, I hope you take care of my people. So before the LOI, identity. After the LOI, uncertainty. This is the part no one warns new buyers about. When the seller signs the LOI, they begin a grieving process because the business is their identity. It's their purpose, their routine, their meaning. And facing the idea of letting go, it shakes some people. Most first-time buyers panic when this happens. The pros who've done it before, they don't. A professional expects the tone shift, and a professional stays calm. A professional will lead through this. So let's go into this couple lessons I want to share. The LOI changes the psychology. So before the LOI, the seller is telling a story. After the LOI, they're facing an ending to some part of their life. And that emotional transition is the real deal. The LOI is not paperwork. It's an identity. All right, let's go on to lesson number 2, why this blindsides new buyers. Most people assume deals fall apart because of, let's say, price, financing, due diligence issues. But more deals collapse because one or both sides can't navigate the emotional shift after the LOI. And that shift is predictable. It happens almost every time. It's the moment where you either grow into a real buyer or you fold and leave the table. All right, let's go on to lesson number 3. What others teach and what they miss. Let's talk about how different experts frame LOIs and where the gaps are. Sam Rosati, good guy, he's been on my podcast, part of the SMB Law Group. Sam says you have to get to an LOI fast. Don't try to perfect valuation before exclusivity. He's right. You can't see the real business until the LOI is signed. His LOIs are short, and the price is never final. And he's also right. But here's the deeper layer to that. The LOI is when the seller begins letting go of who they've been for decades. If you don't lead them through that, you'll lose the deal. There's another attorney I follow, Brent Sankus. Brett emphasizes that LOIs are mostly non-binding. Yeah, that's legally true. But emotionally, once the LOI is signed, the seller is mentally stepping into their next life. That commitment matters more than any legal clause. Also, another guy I follow, Alexander Abramson. Alexander points out that the LOIs start the conversation. Sure, But what he doesn't say is this: once you have exclusivity, the performance ends and the real business starts to finally show up. Pre LOI, the business is a story. Post LOI, it's evidence we need to look into. And what do SBA lenders think or tell you? Before LOI, lenders will listen. After LOI, they're going to audit revenue patterns, seasonality, margins, true cash flow, working capital. The business stops talking and it starts showing its real colors. All right, let's go on to lesson number 4. What a strong LOI actually includes. So a great LOI does 2 things. Number 1, it locks in exclusivity. And 2, begins the emotional transition. That's the real purpose. And here's what goes into that. 1, you got purchase price, you got payment terms, that's cash, seller note, earn out, and exactly what you're buying, like the brand, the assets, the domain. It also have training plus transition time, a 30 to 60, 90-day exclusivity, and contingencies like financials must verify, due diligence must be satisfactory, or financing must be attained, and the lease must be acceptable. Add that, key staff must remain. And only 2 things are actually binding: exclusivity and confidentiality. Everything else is just intent. If the facts change, the price changes too. There's no guilt, there's no apology. It's just math about this. And a pro buyer knows this: you don't win at the LOI, you win in how you behave after the LOI. All right, let's go into another lesson. I want to talk about how LOIs are a little bit different for on-market, off-market deals. Here's where an LOI experience splits on the 2 paths. An on-market LOIs, that's a brokered deal. That's like biz buy sell, axial, public listings. And once your LOI is submitted, the outcome is out of your hands because the seller might have like 2 offers, 5 offers. He could have 20 offers. And they're choosing based upon terms, certainty, confidence, and do you have the money and transition clarity? Chasing or pushing after you submit an LOI, that's going to kill your positioning. In on-market deals, your job is simple: submit a clean LOI and fast if it's a good deal. Then let the universe decide. For off-market LOIs, that's a completely different game. It's not listed, you found it, you sourced it, there's no competition. It's just you and the seller. So here, pace matters. But what matters more? Trust and a human connection between you and the seller. Off-market deals close because of relationships, not price. So to summarize, on-market, you compete with a bunch of people. Off-market, you got to connect with those sellers. Know which game you're playing, don't mix them up, and use the right tools. All right, let's go on to the next lesson, a numbers game. The whole thing is about getting reps in. It's not luck, it's not magic. The more deals you look at, the more LOIs you write, the more opportunities you create for yourself. If you look at 3 deals and they're bad, you're not failing, you're just underexposed. But if you look at 30, you're going to find a good one. And if you write 2 LOIs, maybe something then happens. If you write 10, something will happen. Repetition builds pattern recognition, and pattern recognition builds confidence. And confidence closes deals. Let's go on to the next lesson. Working capital, it's the hidden knife fight. Working capital is the fuel in the tank. It's the cash, it's the inventory, it's the accounts receivable, it's the accounts payable. Sellers think it's theirs. Buyers need it to operate. Both are right. But if you don't address working capital in the LOI, you'll fight about it later on. So just add this one clause to your LOI. The business will convey with normal working capital to continue operations. This single line will save you more deals than any spreadsheet on the earth. All right, let's go on to the next lesson. The bank doesn't care about your story. Once that underwriting begins, the bank drops the dream. And they're going to ask one question: Can this business pay the loan every month, even a bad month? Not a great month, not an average month, every month. If it's yes, they're going to lend. If it's no, they walk. They lend on history, not on the future. Banks are not betting on the upside. They're protecting themselves from your downside. That's why the debt service coverage ratio, seasonality, customer concentration, vendor risk, all of that matters to them. And if you're surprised in diligence, something pops up that doesn't look good, you didn't look deep enough. All right, let's go on to the next lesson, the big reveal. If you want to avoid 90% of post LOI drama, ask this one question to the seller before you get them to sign the LOI. What does your life look like the day after you sell? If they have a clear answer, they're ready. If they don't, they're selling from fear, burnout, identity loss. Those deals will wobble and blow up, even right at the altar. You cannot lead someone into a future they haven't imagined for themselves. All right, let's go on to the next lesson. Kind of a composite closing story. Let's say you found a small HVAC company, great margins, good staff, owner ready to retire, an LOI signed. Let's say the seller panicked for 2 weeks. Lots of fear, doubt, identity unraveling. So the buyer stays calm and steady, calm voice, consistent communication, no pressure. The seller will lean back in and the deal will close. Employees will stay. The business will grow because it wasn't the terms, it wasn't the structure, it was the buyer's steady presence during the emotional dip. That's the game you're playing here. Remember what an LOI, it's the intent to sell and getting them emotionally ready to the next step in their life. So here's a practical application. Here's what you do. Expect the tone shift after the LOI. Lead the relationship, define that working capital early on, and renegotiate with facts, not feelings. Stay calm like you've done it before, and when the seller wobbles. And when you write more LOIs, it's reps in the game, and you're going to win more deals. If you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to review real deals with real numbers every week, you can join. Apply for Pass and Pursue at dealflowsystem.net. I'll tell you, we do real deals. We send out real LOIs, real structures, real decisions, and we're happy to help. I'm Jon Stoddard. I'll see you on the next one.